G'day guys, welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to touch on the topic, what your watch says about you. So for this video, I want to stick to the Speedmaster and I want to share a story with you just specifically on the Speedmaster. I want to also touch on the Seamaster slightly as well, but focusing on the Speedmaster. Now, I've been doing some reflecting in my career, and for me personally, I've been in the corporate industry or the corporate realm for the last 10 years. Prior to that, 15 years before that, I was actually working with my hands. That's why the channel is called Working Man Lifestyle, is because I'm just an ordinary guy. I came from being a cleaner, doing removalist stuff, scrubbing shoes and reselling them, to then working in the corporate industry. And I thought to myself, you know what, even before I was into watches have always influenced my life in one way, shape or form. I remember when I was younger, a young kid in school, my parents used to say, get a good education, go to uni, which is a fucking lie nowadays, but whatever, go to uni, get a good job, become a lawyer or a doctor, and now I'm a sleazy salesman. Earn good money, buy a Rolex, and show the world what you're made of. I thought to myself, who gives a shit? Why would anyone care about a Rolex? Why would anyone care about a good watch? Whatever. And as time goes on, I've had many instances, even before I was into watches, where the watch game influenced the perception of people around me. And what I mean by that is, as an example, Omega, wristwatch check, I'm wearing my white Speedy, the Craigmaster. When I got my first luxury watch, a lot of things changed for me. So when I first got my Omega Speedmaster Hesalite, things were different. I was more, I would say, visible. I was more present in the corporate game. So I shit you not, story time. Omega, what it says about you, specifically the Moonwatch, what it told people is that I know the game. I'm a part of the game, and I'm a part of this exclusive club of watch owners that are somewhat a tier above the ordinary watch enthusiasts, right? And what I mean by that is 6 years ago when I was working my first finance job, I was wearing a Seiko. No one gave a shit. It's just I bought it because I liked it. I wore it because I liked it. When I got my first luxury watch, the Omega Speedmaster Hesalite, things changed. People started to treat me a bit differently. And what I mean by that, the very next day I bought that watch, went into the elevator, heavy hitters noticed straight away. They're like, oh, is that a Speedy? I'm like, yes, it is. It's a Speedmaster. Oh, is it a Hesalite? Yes, it's a Hesalite. Oh, that's the way it should be. You know your stuff. What's your name? And then the conversation went from there. Even fast forward up until today, I would have people stop me on the train. I would have casual conversations here and there if I'm meeting clients. There's actually a client of mine who's very into Omegas, and that's how we connected. We're like, oh yeah, Omega guy, Omega. But since I've got Rolexes now, he's called me a Rolex cock lover. So it is what it is, but you get my point? The watch changed the perception of people around me, which then made me more visible. Now, is it worth the $5,000 at the time investment? Fucking oath it was. Yes, 100% it was, because I felt that I was able to get into conversations with people I normally wouldn't have any way of getting in. When you're doing cold call or cold approaches to people, it's hard to find a hobby or a shared interest when you don't know the fucking person, right? So when you're meeting, let's say for example, a couple years back in that first job, I was at a mixer, some random mixer. It was weird. It was a weird experience. That was the first time I was at a mixer event. I wore my Speedy. I'm like, all right, I'm going to land on the moon, get some bitches, i.e. clients, and away we go. I was just looking at people's wrists. That's all I was doing. That's the way I approached people. I was like, you know what? What's this guy wearing? Oh, this guy's wearing a sub. So he must be one of these, right? So I'll go up to him. I'm like, oh yeah, man, just do one of these. Nice sub, man. Oh, are you into watches? Oh, look what I got. I got a Speedy. If he knew what this was, game over. That's the kind of approach I took. And as much of a wanker as I sounded, it worked. You know what I mean? Because there was a shared interest. He liked subs, Rolex, whatever, but he knew what this was. To him, it was the second best, but it was good enough for me to get into the door. Now, on the flip side, when I had my Seamaster, it was different. It had different allure. It had a different impact. So the story, I actually shared this story in a previous video of mine, but the story goes, I went to the Gold Coast, Queensland with my colleague because at the time, my boss at the time didn't trust me, even though I was the top performer, he didn't. Anywho, he sends my colleague with me. My colleague, keep in mind, is like 5 years younger. He's like barely 20, but he's a good salesperson. He was a real estate agent before, and he sold a few houses and bought himself a Submariner. So we go to this guy's place. He's bankrupt now, so whatever, I can say the story. And we go to his office. I'm obviously leading the pitch, I've already closed the guy basically, but this dude wasn't paying attention to me. He was wearing a Yachtmaster 2. He was staring at my mate because he was wearing a sub. I was wearing a Seamaster 300, the ceramic dial one. So the whole time he wasn't paying attention to me. He was paying attention to this guy. So basically I had to get this guy. I could read the room. I'm like, all right, then I'll never take a step back. I mean, even though I'm annoyed because I'm the senior, I'm gonna let my boy drive the conversation so we can close the deal. Because at the end of the day, it's all about money, right? I don't give a fuck what we're talking about. As long as we close the deal, that's all I care about. So long story short, we closed the deal. This guy, my colleague, I don't want to say his name, but he's like, oh, that's a bit weird. He's just talking to me, but you're the guy. And I'm like, yeah, because of your watch. Right? So different watches from the same brand have different impacts. The Omega Speedy, so the Speedmaster, is so well known and so well loved that it straight away brings an impact to someone's perception of you. However, the Seamaster, you gotta have to know it. Like non-watch people, if they don't know it, which a lot of people don't, unless they've watched James Bond, and even though they don't really care, it's like, it has a different impact. So what your watch says about you, the Speedmaster, it says volumes about you. It says that you're, again, part of this exclusive club, that you're a bit above the normal watch enthusiast, which is bullshit, but that's just the way it is. That you know your shit, and you have a bit of money. You're successful enough that you've spent a couple of quid, a couple of coin to get into this. You don't get into a Speedy normally because of the hype, even though people do nowadays. But back then, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, yeah, you didn't buy one because you were hyped up into it. There wasn't really much hype, in all honesty, around it. You bought it because you knew. If you know, you know. But nowadays it's a different story. I got this. It's a fucking hype piece, but I love it. Like I used to have the old one. I wasn't gonna rebuy the old one, so that's why I bought this. It's the freshie. So that's the Speedmaster. Let me know if you've had any experiences that were similar. Everyone's experiences are different, but for me, I just remember that day being in the elevator saying, yeah, Speedy, getting into the game. Even after that, just many instances where I've started new careers, new jobs, and then I was wearing a Speedy. And then some heavy hitter, CFO, a C-suite executive would see it, we'll start a conversation, and they'll ask me, what's your name? I remember actually, I started a new job, very bottom of the fucking totem pole. I had to restart my career at one point. It's restarted, and I was in the elevator with the chief risk officer. He was wearing a JLC, I was wearing my Speedy, and he was like, oh, Speedy. And I was like, oh, JLC. What's your name? And that's how it started. Legit, in that job, I think it was like only 3 or 4 months into that job, got promoted. So it does make an impact professionally in your career. It does make an impact. So think about that. And this isn't a signal for you to just go out and buy one right now. It's not me telling you just spend the money. However, I believe that in my experiences, it does have an impact and it is worth your money doing it. It shouldn't be the sole purpose of of buying a nice watch like a Speedmaster or Rolex, but it should be part of your consideration. And that's the video. Let me know what you think. Catch you on the next one.